Dan Lebatard.
Jeff Van Gundy looked like the guy at the gym who pees out of the bottom of his shorts.
Stugats.
Is that a wrong thing?
This is the Dan Lebatard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Jeff Van Gundy going to join us in just a minute here on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Choose Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline for the best total engine protection you can get. Here's your SportsCenter update. The Brooklyn Nets have ruled out 6 of their players for their season finale versus the Chicago Bulls in a game that has major playoff implications. If the Pacers beat the Hawks, they are in. If the Bulls beat the Nets, they are in. The Heat would reach the playoffs with a win over the Wizards and a loss by either Indiana or Chicago. The San Francisco Giants have placed catcher Buster Posey on the 7-day concussion-disabled list after taking a fastball to the helmet in Monday's game versus the Diamondbacks. Was very scary. And finally, in her upcoming memoir, Caitlyn Jenner reveals that she had gender reassignment surgery in January. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
You want to tackle that one, that last one, Jeff Van Gundy? You want to tackle gender reassignment surgery, or you want to talk about the playoffs and resting players?
Let's go with the playoffs and resting players.
Okay, very good.
So for 100. For 100.
For 100. All right. You have said it should be a prosecutable offense. So what do you make of the Nets tonight sitting the Nets, Brooke Lopez, Jeremy Lin, they're sitting everybody tonight against Chicago. Chicago wins and they're in.
Well, I think there's 2 different issues. The first one is for about the 20 players that people pay to see in this league, and the Nets don't have anybody that, the NBA markets hard, I think they have a different responsibility. So I don't think anybody in Chicago is saying, oh, I'm not getting to see Trevor Booker tonight. I don't think, that's impacting the fan. But to sit players out for rest the day before the season ends, to me, is somewhat comical. It's like, well, they get to rest in 24 hours. Plus, this is where we are as a league now. We don't even bat an eye when people stop trying to win in games that really matter. And so the Nets just mailing it in and gifting the Bulls the game to get in the playoffs. I don't know what the Hawks are going to do. Maybe they do the similar thing for the Pacers. It's just wrong on so many accounts. And as a league, I find it sad that we don't even think twice about it anymore, that teams don't try their best to win.
Well, what would you do if you were the coach of the Hawks? You've got the 5 seed locked up. You go into Indiana tonight. What would you do? You play everybody?
Yes. And again, people say, well, Atlanta doesn't owe the Heat anything, but this is where I disagree. We always throw out the term partners. And, teams are partners with each other. Teams are partners with the players. Players are partners with the league and with the TV broadcast entities. So partnership, to me, connotates equality, and that you care as much about what's best for your partner as you do for yourself. And in that light, the Atlanta Hawks, the Brooklyn Nets, the Washington Wizards owe it to their partners to try their best tonight. Now, does that mean playing their guys 38 minutes? No, I'm not saying there should be a strict, limit. They should try to play exactly the same minutes as they normally would, but they do owe it to the league, to their partners, to try to win the game. And when you sit out 3 guys like Lopez and Lynn, and then the other guys who are hurt, or I don't know if they're really hurt or sort of hurt, I just think you do a disservice to our league. But again, the bigger issue to me is, as fans, as a league office, we just sit there and take it.
But Jeff, that's a stretch. The partner thing is a stretch. Your first interest and your priority is yourself, is your own.
Well, then you're not in a partnership.
I mean, okay.
And let's say that. Let's say we're not partners, because they always say, the league always spouts TV and our league partners. Well, first of all, from what I gather, there is absolutely no partnership, because we pay all the money and we get also shortchanged with a lot of these issues. And so I don't understand the idea of partnership. But if you do believe in partnership, no, I don't agree with what you're saying, is that you should only look out for yourself. I disagree with that.
Jeff, you've known and you've thought for a while that Eric Spoelstra is a great coach. I think the rest of the country this year, more so than any other year, including the years with LeBron, Wade, and Bosh, they're starting to catch up, and they're starting to see the same things that you and your brother Stan have seen for many, many years. Should Eric Spoelstra be the coach of the year? There's not a superstar on that team, Jeff.
Well, again, I don't know if there is a should-be coach of the year, but he's certainly, one of a handful of guys.
Stop with the nuance. Jeff, stop with the nuance. Yes or no? Stop with the nuance.
No, I can do. You ask me on.
No.
And because we're in a partnership, you should care about my
this isn't a partnership. I care about me.
About yours.
Pick a coach of the year. Give me a name, one name, not 5 names, one name. Pick one. Go now.
I'm going to go with either Mike D'Antoni or Eric Spoelstra.
Right.
But I don't. You know what? I don't pick. And it's another, to me, where the media doesn't belong in picking. To me, the coaches should pick coach of the year. They compete against these guys. So whatever the media decides doesn't matter to me. You guys made a good point. You guys also – no, I'm not done yet. You guys made a good point earlier about Spoelstra in that this year – doesn't validate Spoelstra. Like, Spoelstra's been an outstanding coach in this league ever since he took over. And records go up and down based on roster. But his level of performance has been great. So all you say to me is that the rest of the country found out. Well, that just shows you they're not paying attention if they just found out that he's a great coach.
Jeff, I was pretty upset. I thought Adam Silver made a big mistake because Dallas is playing, the Mavericks are playing a meaningless game. Tony Romo's on the bench. The Mavs wanted to put him in the game last night. I have no reason to tune into a Dallas Mavericks game at this point. Again, they're meaningless. I would have tuned in if I knew Tony Romo was going to get some playing time last night. How do you feel about that? Should Tony Romo have had the opportunity to play in an NBA game?
That's where our league is at, right there. We're talking about Tony Romo playing in an NBA game. We would never talk about an NBA player playing in an NFL game. Bill Veeck had this way back in baseball. Little Eddie Goodell went up there for marketing purposes, for money, to make more money, to draw more fans. Our game is, if we're having to worry, if we're having to put Tony Romo in a game to interest fans in NBA basketball, we are headed down a bad path.
All right, let's play our looks like game here with Jeff Van Gundy. You ready, Van Gundy?
Yeah.
All right, Frank Martin. I'm going to give you 2 Frank Martin choices. You pick one. Which one Frank Martin looks most like? Does Frank Martin look like the guy who takes pride in his dead deer collection, showing the bust to his daughter's boyfriend and warning him, if you hurt my daughter, you'll be right up there with them?
What's the other one?
Does Frank Martin look like a guy who loves his wife so much he's considering the idea of telling her?
Those are both bad, but I'm going to take B.
Does Jim Harbaugh look like the guy who at the beginning of a pickup basketball game asks, who's got skins, while taking his shirt off?
That's good. Or?
Does Stan Van Gundy look like the guy who isn't very good at cooking but names every dish he makes world famous?
I'm going to take Harbaugh in that choice. Yeah.
Let's go to our tournament here instead of these new ones. Here's an old one for you, Jeff Van Gundy. Do you like this one?
What if I told you that Andrew Luck looks like a human to werewolf transformation that encountered a loading error at 45%?
Give him another one till we make him laugh. What? Yeah, okay, he's laughing now. All right, fine. Give him another one. Tyler Johnson also looks like that, by the way.
Yes.
Give us another one.
What if I told you that Trent Dilfer looks like the dad who steps out of the shower soaking wet with his shaving cream on his head, yelling at someone to answer the door? I'm
going with Andrew Luck.
No, that's
the winner of that.
Hold on, we got another choice for you here.
Hold on a second.
Oh, okay.
What if I told you that Roy Williams looks like a dog show judge who awards Best in Show to the Scottish Terrier, handled by Brad Stevens?
Mike, just keep giving them to him.
I'm still going with Andrew Luck, but the Roy Williams one is close.
All right, just bury him until we have someone top Andrew Luck. Just bury Jeff Van Gundy. And this needs to be the final time we play this game with Jeff Van Gundy because he's not good at it. So just
what do you mean I'm not good at it?
You've lost your passion for it.
Yeah. Give him another one. Hit him with another one.
No, you guys are trying to spice it up too much.
Looks like a guy.
Who?
What if I told you that Greg Popovich looks like a guy at the nursing home in a wheelchair who tries to bite people when they walk by?
Come on.
That's not bad, but what's with the production aspect of, like, the music and the creepy voice and all that?
Go to hell, Van Gundy!